Thank you, Younghee. That's so lovely. Younghee suggested that we start with some singing, and so we could sing our morning song. So we stand in a circle when it's time, and maybe if you all close your eyes, that'll feel easier on me. It goes like this. I'll sing the first line and then you repeat it. Morning has come. Your turn. Night is away.
Night is away.
Rise with the sun and give thanks for the day.
Rise with the sun and give thanks for
the day. Up is the sky, down is the ground. There are my friends, and here am I. I touch the sky, stretch. I touch my feet, bend way low. I clap my hands on every beat. Without a sound, I turn around, and this new day I humbly greet. Good morning, dear earth. Good morning, dear sun. Good morning, dear stones and flowers, everyone. Good morning, dear creatures and birds in the trees. Good morning to you and good morning to me. And then we do some little rhymes depending on what's going on in the world, in our world. Like in the fall time, there's lots of squirrels. So we do whiskey, frisky, hippity hop, up he goes to the treetop. Whirly, furly, round and round, down he scampers to the ground. Curly, furly, what a tail, tall as a feather, broad as a sail. Where's his supper? In the shell. Snappity, crackety, out it fell. And our 5-year-olds will shout, it's a squirrel, it's a squirrel. Like they figured it out. But the little ones are still in the magic of it all. And then we go on and we do seasonal games. Our whole curriculum is seasonal minded. We paint the colors that we see in the world right now. And our songs and games, our whole curriculum is built on the natural environment and what we see. All the activities that we do are that way. So we're not going to do a block on polar bears right now because we don't have polar bears anywhere near us, and so on and so on. So that's how that goes. Yep. Well, something that pops to my mind is it's really important for me. Hold on to cough. Okay. It's really important for me that our children cultivate a sense of belonging in the natural world. And so when we go for walks or just in our everyday, we're not just saying, oh, by that tree over there, it's by the oak tree or by the big oak tree. That when we learn to name things in our natural world, we can have more respect and care for them, and that we're deeply respectful of everything in our environment, and the same as each other, ourselves, our materials. I think if you look at our school, we don't have an abundance of things because what for? They don't need all these things. I had a practicum student come visit yesterday and she said, well, I noticed that you don't have many toys. Like, nope, we don't. And that's part of the reason is for the children to find who they are in the world. And instead of us bombarding them with all these things, that they find ways to play with as little as possible. And we have more than I would want, really, but we have very little. Like we don't have a million things. So,
Paula, I wanted to ask you to share your own story first, and I forgot that. When I met Paula, Paula shared her own early childhood, and how it was so special to me to listen to that story. And I wanted to do actually, if you could think of everyone in this space, could think of your own early childhood back then when you were young, what it was like to you. Can you imagine yourself being young and playing? And if you could stay in touch with your own inner child in your own early childhood, that would be so helpful throughout this time as we listen to Paula's story. So Paula, tell us a little bit about how your early childhood was like.
Okay. I grew up in Zimbabwe in Africa, and that's where I was born, and I lived until I left home when I was 19. And hold on, that frog. And I spent all my time outside, as much time as I possibly could outside. I had my favorite tree to go to in the yard, and always I was the youngest of 3 children, and my brothers were older and didn't really have much interest in me, which was just fine. I didn't feel lonely or anything because I had the fairies and I had the stones and the trees and the flowers. And when the leaves would change and get that specific shade of red to them, and the certain bush that I would know that I could go and play there and collect the leaves and make jam from mulberries and leave little swimming pools for the fairies, all the things that I just was in heaven spending my time outside. And as I got older, I rode my bike on adventures by myself all over the place. I think about it now and I'm astounded at how brave I was, because there were real things to be afraid of, like lions lived there. And there were very poisonous snakes that I could easily interact with if I wanted to. But I never thought about any of those things. I just had my bike and my adventure, my sense of it was my world. It was where I belonged. And there was no harm ever. It never entered my head that there was anything to be afraid of. Only at night when I went to sleep and there were big spiders on the walls, then I was just like, oh, I would rather pee in my bed than get up and go, sorry, that's very personal. But I would rather do that than get up and deal with spiders. So I loved it. I feel like I had a childhood from heaven. I wish, and that's affected me greatly in what I do and offer the children. And I didn't have a lot of things, but my goodness, do we need all these things? No, I don't want to support consumerism in little ones. I don't want to do that. I don't want to support Disney. Why would I? Sorry, I can go off on all these topics for a long time.
And Paula, how were you? I know that the seed was planted way back then, and then something was growing in you, and how you were probably drawn to the spirit of children, and how Waldorf-inspired kind of approach to create something so special and so secretive the time when you started your program.
When I started the program, I have 3 of my own children, and when I moved to the United States, when they were they were all born here. And as they got older, I was always looking for somewhere that felt in alignment with me for them to go to school. And I didn't really find anywhere until my middle son, who's now, who knows how old, 30 something, he was ready to go to first grade. And somebody had said, we lived in LA and I did not like it. It was not a yes for me at all. And so somebody had said, oh, you should go and look at Ashland, Oregon. It's beautiful there and it's a hip happening place. So you might want to go. So we did, and I discovered the Waldorf school here. And I'll back up just a teeny bit. When I left Zimbabwe in 1979 and I stopped in London to visit my brother, he took me to the grounds of the school where his children went to school. And we were walking through this beautiful, woodsy, wonderful, beautiful old place. And there was this teeny little corner brick wall in a random little meadow. And I said, well, what's this? And he said, oh, that's third grade math. They're building houses. And everything in my being just went, yes, that is how learning needs to happen, is by being involved in purposeful work that matters. So I tucked it away. I didn't really have any clue I would be a teacher ever. I wanted to be a horseback police officer. I never rode horses, any of the things. So that was what I wanted to be. And I wanted to work with prisoners because I thought they were so interesting. Anyway, so come a million years later, we move up to Oregon and I go and visit the school. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what I saw a million years ago in London. And everything started to make sense. And so that next year I became, that year we joined, I was the kindergarten assistant and we moved up here. And I became the handwork assistant. And then stayed in the Waldorf arena, was the handwork teacher for a long time, and I did games training and remedial work, working with the children with learning and behavior differences, because the ones who were sent out of the classroom were always the ones I was intrigued with, like, how is it? We need to figure out how to meet those children. We don't need to be sending them out of the classroom. What do they need? How can we meet them? So I became an extra lesson teacher, educational support, working with these children having learning and behavior differences. I'm coming to the end. And so what I got to eventually was that these children were, if they hadn't had enough space to complete their development in the early years, they wouldn't need remediation later on. That what was most important was that children got to move their bodies freely. They got to learn about who they were, who they are, who they're becoming. That if we got out of the way and allowed them the space to move and discover their own sense of self in this world, that many learning and behavior differences would be minimized, because what the remedy for so many of these things was to take children through the developmental stages of movement, to have them crawling and walking, crawling on their bellies, going backwards and forwards, and all of these therapeutic activities were actually the early movements of babies. And that was just like oh my gosh, for me. And so I started the preschool because I wanted to make sure I allowed space. I don't want to go in and remediate anything. I don't want to do that. I want to handle it at the beginning. I want to make sure children have everything they need for their healthy development. So then I started the preschool, and that's where that all comes. And long answer.
Paula, I so great to kind of revisit your days for the formation days, as you're kind of in the, probably, if I could say, like a golden stage of your kind of education, and reseeding yourself in this world for real, for the brighter the future. How do you approach your program, what is important for you to provide your children?
Mm.
And I know that you had transitioned from the indoor outdoor to mostly outdoor, and now it's real nature based. How how did that evolve?
When I started the school, I was looking for a place, and what I wanted to start was an educational support program where we offered all sorts of different things, like a watercolor class or whatever. We offered all these different things for children of all ages and families. But then when I found our space, it was clear that it wanted to be a preschool. So both my husband and I have lots of Waldorf teacher training on my side, and my husband's kindergarten Waldorf teacher trained. And so it became we started as a daycare, and then I learned that there were rules and regulations about how many children you could have, about this, that, and the other. So I was like, oh my. So then I became licensed as an early childhood a certified family. Anyway, so we did it at this property in town, sort of, where we had 1/4 of an acre, which we transformed into this really great little garden where children could climb the bushes. There were these really sturdy bushes that the children could climb up high. And I never told anybody. I didn't tell licensors that that's what happened. It was our secret. Yeah, the children did that, and it was so great, because if anyone had known, they'd probably have told me to put a fence around it or something, but there we go. And it was a city lot. It was 1/4 of an acre on the city, so there weren't any hills and things. And we were there for, I think, 17 years. And then once, 2 summers ago, I came back from camping and said to my husband, we need to sell Park Street and move the school out to where we live. So we live on 7 acres, and we have 1 acre, and our home is on 1 acre. And then the adjoining 6.5 is my son's. So we, last summer, not this one, my husband transformed this really great greenhouse that was on the border of my son's and our property into this really beautiful building. So now we have, I don't know how much space it is. We have access to all of it, but we fenced off a little area to help keep everybody a little bit safer. And it's on a hill with rocks and trees, and it's just, I love it. The building is so beautiful to me. We've got clear roof, and the children are so happy. We used to go, when we lived the school at Park Street, we used to have Nature Day, which we would all meet at Immigrant Lake once a week. And that was our outdoor Nature Day. The children brought their own lunches, and we all met there and got dropped and picked up there. And that was the best. It was the best, because there was never any fighting, never any needing to own anything. It's my truck, it's my shovel, it's mine. There was never any of that, because you don't get to own that ladybug or that lizard that you've found that is visiting with you right now. You don't get to do that. So I just was increasingly inspired by having the children in the natural world. So it became more and more emphatic. We started increasing our outdoor days to where we only had 1 day at the facility on Park Street. And then I was like, well, I don't even want to do that. I dreaded the Park Street days, because there would be ownership, and we all still didn't have much stuff, but children, it's that way. So then moving out here has been great, because they have that sense of belonging in their own selves, and there's not all that fighting about things. I don't want all of that business. It's not fun for me.
I wonder how many of you have visited her website to see the pictures? Some of you. Could we show a little bit of your website and some of the things that children do in your place? Would
Sure.
that be okay?
Do you want me to share my screen or do you want to do that?
Robin,
I'm looking for the right feature to do that. Who can share? All participants. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Yep. Thanks, Robin.
Mhm.
Now where's my life? Ugh. Not there. Okay. I'm just gonna have to type it in, sorry. But I was ready.
you were.
I was in a different way. Website, here we go. All right. Think. So here we go. Nature, play, and relationship. Blah, blah, blah. Let me find the building for you. It's there. Let's see. What do you want? Here it is. We have this little business that I can show you. We dye silk capes in the fall for Michaelmas or to acknowledge the fall. So the children have just, we just dyed the capes this day that they're now all getting them. And when they get their capes, so they have these white silks and we collect flowers, marigolds from the garden, and we put them into this pot of water. And I slip in a little dye because the marigolds would make the water beautifully golden, but not quite golden enough. So I slip in a little healthy dye, and the children watch. They each add their silk to the dye water. Then we rinse it out, and they hang them on the line, which you saw them all blowing in the line. Then I iron them. So I get out the ironing board and an iron. So old-fashioned, and the children love watching that whole process. And then at the end of that particular day, my husband gives them their cape of courage, and he says, with this cape, may this cape protect you always and help you do good things on the earth, something like that. And then he ties it around them. So it's a little ceremony that's kind of sacred. And that's that. Okay. Close to our school, we have several ponds. And in the winter time, look at the ice on them. We go on adventures to visit the ponds, and they learn so much. And we can tell how cold the day was or the night was by how thick the ice is, and what happens when you throw a stone onto the ice and it cracks. What goes on? So great. It makes this big hole, but there's a big bubble underneath. Oh, I love it. Okay. Part of our property we walk to this where we have a swing and a zip line and these things, and we can go up there and have picnics. This is a picture of, we have this water jug full of water, and we always eat outside. We have a beautiful outside table, and the sun in the morning was shining through the water jug, and it was burning this bark. there was a little flame starting to, it was smoky as the sun shone through the glass and was burning a hole in the bark. Isn't that so cool? Oh my gosh. More in the wintertime, I have this little rocket stove. It's where it's a little stove and it's fed by twigs. We have plenty of twigs. And I like to make baked potatoes in the winter that they can put in their pockets because it's a bit chilly, and that helps keep their hands warm. They can have their little baked potato in their pocket and they can chomp on them if they want to. And it's there as a little hand warmer. It's another so sweet. I love it. That was a pot of blue dye. Isn't it gorgeous? Did you see it? And now these are the blue silks for wintertime. We dye blue silks because that's the color that we mostly see is the blue of the sky. We have parent volunteers, and this particular parent loves working with seeds and children. So he came and the children all planted seeds and they took care of them and took them home, I think, because nothing else came of them. Oh, it's long though. Okay. Our neighbor has a llama and some other goats. So we go to visit, what's her name? Star Wars people, Princess Leia. So we go and visit her and they leave a container of food handy so that we can go and feed Princess Leia. Maybe we could stop there. We have tea in the mornings at the table. We all sit down and I make a pot of tea. Are you tired of it? I'll see if there's anything interesting. Blah, blah. There. And, oh, the end of the year, we dye capes, the other capes, those ones. rainbow capes. There. At story time, they sit around and we do story outside. Dave tells the story and then they act it out. We do chip chop where the children bring something, or we have a garden. We have lots of melons right now. So the children chop with knives and we eat the food, or we cook it and make soup. Chip chop day is on Thursdays. So we do bread baking on Mondays, where we make bread from scratch with yeast and all the things. And the children each make a little bun to take home. And on Tuesdays, we do watercolor painting, wet on wet watercolor, and we paint with the colors of the season. So right now it's typically golden yellow. But just the other day, we did golden yellow for a couple of weeks, and I was looking out and I said to the children, what colors do you see when you look outside? And they looked and they said, green, because we don't have many golden leaves right this minute. So we did yellow and blue. So then it felt more true, more honest. Squiz through, see what there is to see. There was a little frog, a teeny little frog right there, and they were all visiting it. So sweet. We have this table on the deck, and we have a table up there to eat. And the wasps, there were so many wasps up there that day that we all moved down here. They were princesses, non-stop princesses. Our inside space is quite minimal, I think. Yeah, well, the chickens. My son and Ada have chickens, and they stay, this is a 7-acre property. They stay way up there, but all of the chickens marched down the hill, across the bridge, and over to the school the other day for the first time. And the children were just like, oh my gosh, look at there's the white one in the front. The white one's the leader, and they were all there, and the chickens just snuck through. So now we have chickens, which is fine, except they poo everywhere, and they're lovely, but they poo everywhere. It's great. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. They're paintings to go home, and there you go. Sorry. Okay. Great. Sorry if that was long, felt long.
It was so lovely to watch it again with your explanations, because then that's the fuller story. Yeah.
Thanks.
Since we have about 10 minutes or so, I wonder, there are so many stories. I get just carried away by Paula's story. Always want to stay there for just as long as I could. But I'm wondering if we could open up the floor for the people who might have any questions. Yeah, wonderings about how Paula does.
Thanks, Younghee. I love you.
I love you too.
I had a question just about how many students do you have?
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there. Right now, not a million. And we've changed, we used to have children from 2, well, to accommodate my granddaughter when she was 2, we had children from 2 to 6. Now we have from 3 to 6. And so we don't have a million. We have some. We used to have millions, and then that was so overwhelming. It wasn't fun. We had so many staff. We had 6 staff, so many different programs. And that was when we were at Park Street, and I got that panicky, overwhelming feeling, and just stopped and looked and felt like, what are we doing? I feel out of integrity. I would look at the program and go, no, this is not what I had in mind. So now feels much closer to what I had in mind.
I guess I have another question if no one else is asking yet. You mentioned a practicum student, and do you ever need other practicum students?
I love having practicum students. Always. It's one of my favorite ways of interacting with other people, because I feel like they come with open eyes, open heart, open everything. And I love it. So yes, please.
Great. All right. I help with some of the practicum courses at SOU, so I can send people your way.
Oh, great. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Oh, really.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the real picture from your secret garden. And I have a question about because I'm working in the school with kindergarten, and I have the time to gather them to do activity, to follow the routine. And I would like to know, want you to share about your routine when you gather them and what you do in the daytime. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, great. Yeah, we do have a specific rhythm and routine to the day. It's not just everybody going all the day long. There's absolute specificity, and it's not hurried. We make a point of not hurrying anybody anywhere. So we both check and see, we take the temperature of the group and see, should we start circle a little bit earlier today because they seem a little bit hungry, because after circle comes snack time. So we have morning, the children arrive, and then we have, they play, free play. And then we have circle time, and after circle they wash their hands, and that's a ritual because Dave does it with them. And he has a nice jug of warm water and soap, and they soap up their hands, and then he pours this jug of warm water over their hands, and then he dries their hands with a nice towel, and then they go to their table and have for snack. And then all together we sing a blessing, we light a candle, and we sing nature-based blessing, and then we have snack. Dave usually tells some stories during snack time about his childhood or whatever, or he does some finger games. And then after snack, they go to play however, whatever. And if it's inside, great. But it's mostly outside. And then during their playtime, we're setting up either baking or chip chop or painting or whatever. I usually set those things up and down at the big table. And then they come when it's time and they wash their hands again, just in the bathroom. Quick little hand wash, or we have an outdoor hand pump or foot pump that they pump with their foot, which is so great. If people don't have that for their programs, the best things, you have a bucket of water and the foot pump, and I love it. So they wash their hands, come and do the activity, and there's always a little verse or a song to do with each activity, like the painting, color fairies, there's a little verse, and then they do their painting, and it's generally in silence with painting, but not be quiet. It just is a pretty sacred thing. And then off they go and play some more, and they do all those things. We pay attention to what they're doing. What do they want to do? Paula, can you help me build this? I want to make a house over here. Can you help me? Or we're working in the garden. weeding. We have this tradition where they bring a plant to school the first day of school and plant it in the garden, and it's theirs to tend the whole year. And I was just noticing the other day, we're only 2-3 weeks into school, and they're all watering their plants just by their own accord. And I just realized it's 5:25, sorry. And then they play, and then we have lunch. There's a ritual to lunch, and then most of them go home right after lunch. Good. Monday is baking, Tuesday is watercolor painting, Wednesday is crafts or gardening, but every day is gardening. Thursday is chip chop. So they bring something to chop and cook. Friday we don't do school. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, everybody.
Viola.
Yes, I had a question. You mentioned something about children in need of development. So they are in there all mixed together, and then they're doing the same activities. And I noticed that they were helping each other, and so that they all help each other in aiding the development of all the others. So I mean, this is so wonderful. This is so awesome. Just sitting there with my mouth open. Is there any way, or do you have like a little video that like you showed here that I could show my holistic or science teachers group, that they could see what's happening? That none of them are from Oregon. They all from all over the place, so they wouldn't be, sent there as practicums or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
You have something you could share besides your website? I'm going to send them to the website, but.
Well, on the website there, I have a few different videos. Maybe you would be willing to look and see if there's anything that's there that suits you. And if not, then maybe I could just make one quickly.
Okay, I'll look at it. Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
sounds like a good idea.
Let me know, because that would be great.
Yeah, thank you.
And I love making videos.
Does your website have your email and contact information?
I think so. But I'll tell you, my phone number for messaging is 541. I'll put it in the chat. Yeah, I'll do that. And my name is Paula Lynam. And my email is Paula I Lynam. That's my name, Paulai. And the website is thesecretgardenschool.com. And look forward to hearing from anyone. Fun for me.
Jamie, Anthony, anything in the last 2 minutes you wanted to share, any feelings, thoughts for listening to Paula?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. I think I just have so many questions. So I'm like, I don't even know where to start the timing, but I loved it. Maybe it would be helpful just to kind of know from your experience, because it sounds like you kind of went from a bigger scale to a smaller scale, and that felt a lot better to you. So you're 4 days a week, maybe half day, and then are you going year round, like even through the summers? Like what's felt right for you for your school?
We don't go year round. We go per the school district, mostly for me, because the summers here are awful right now with smoke and heat and all the things. And I don't want to be in charge of keeping children indoors when we're an outdoor program, mostly. And if you have anything that you want to talk more about, clearly I love talking about this. So please don't hesitate and ask me anything you want. And my heaven would be for there for our sorts of programs, what we're interested in, the holistic thing to be more typical than institutionalized programs. I would feel so happy by the time I'm not on the earth anymore that natural holistic programs are prevalent. So I do anything I can to support people doing programs.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much. We appreciate
Paula.
that.
Yeah, thank you for your generous sharing. And I think you have built your program, and just it's been many years, and now your place is such a blessed space for our practicum students and future teachers to follow your footsteps. And as I felt that from your children, that the sense of joy and freedom, warmth and love, compassion, and freedom, that's just huge to me. And their peace and comfort, sense of self, their own identity and understanding of others, and how to be self and be with others. All those are just so special, and your children are so happy there. And I think this world and age, the time of where we are in, that how we want to create more spaces like yours to provide the opportunities for children to be freely play and freely to be themselves. So thank you for your good work in this world, and thank you for your sharing.
Thank you so much. I deeply appreciate each of you, and thank you for inviting me, Younghee. I'm honored. Thank you. I want more.
We want more.
Mhm.
Well, maybe we can have you back soon, Paula, because this was wonderful and inspiring, and I'm on the same page with Jamie. I've got infinite questions that, yeah, I'm sure won't be able to get answered in this conversation. But it's amazing, though, how one simple story of pouring warm water over children's hands and the sacredness in that, how, like, just hearing that simple explanation, like, I understand so deeply about what it is that, what kind of presence you're bringing to your school and to your children. And I find that so inspirational. I'm like, well, how can I, even if it's not exactly that same ritual, but how can I bring that into what I'm doing? So thank you for even just that one story. It's really meaningful. And yeah, Yeva and Jamie, I don't know if I have your emails, but if you want to be on our email list for future holistic ed discussions, I can add you to that if you share those with me. And our next speaker, I believe, is going to be Tamara from Rungaroon School, who'll be speaking about their international program and how she's been trying to integrate holistic practices into bilingual and just, yeah, I'll let her explain all that, but she's been doing some fabulous work over there. And then after that, we've got some other speakers, Paul and Tara, who are my friends who are starting the school with me down here in their homestead. Incredible, inspiring people who, when I don't know what tree it is, they do. So, and when I heard Paula say that about, yeah, let's go over to that tree over there instead of, and then Paul and Tara will correct me, it's the oak tree, or it's the sour gum, or so I think they're wonderful people too. And thank you all for being here. It's just so inspirational. Thank you all for making this possible.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening and great day, Ziren.
Thank you, everyone, too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.